No, and I just. No. It's gonna be. Recognition tonight, so. And Nicole's gonna stay head over there and he's gonna. Set it up.
It's not very good. Yeah. Good for you.
What's happening?
No.
You behaving?
Yeah.
Oh, you were like.
Every day. Every day.
I had 6:55.
It's same pretty much. She calls.
Oh, yeah, it's way off on that. I told her. 8 minutes ago.
Just leave it down. Superwoman. How's it going? It's okay. All right. It's going good.
I hear you going.
What's that? What's that?
I told him, I said, I think someone's looking at you.
No, you didn't have her.
Yeah.
No, I mean, no, I left them in.
The owl? It's not the owl. Well, yeah, one guy did stop the owl.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, no.
We're gonna vote on, I'm confident. Oh, look at it, lost the owl.
Kendall. They are number 6. I put them real close. They not know. It won't help us. All we're gonna do there and do her names. So, then we need to go out.
Yeah.
There's a couple of seeds. Like, talking like a liver breast. What the hell is that?
Yeah, right.
I still don't know.
Hi, Bob.
Right. Happy belated Mother's Day.
Oh, thank you, you
Same
too.
to all of you. We went to a place, I never, it's the old German place in Germantown. It's called the Relish and Supper Club. It was really good.
Yes.
Right next to the Von, whatever it's called. They both owners, you know, they own both places, but it was really good.
Right. call the Mayville City Common Council order at 7 p.m. Please take the roll.
Alderperson Smith. Here. Alderperson Henkel. Here. Alderperson Lehnow.
Here.
Alderperson Newman.
Here.
Alderperson Olson.
Here.
Alderperson DeBaker will be joining us later today. We have a quorum.
All right, you want to stand for pledge of allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
All right, any citizen comments tonight? No? All right. All right, agenda changes. Was there any agenda changes?
No.
All right. Consent agenda,
We'll make a motion to consent the agenda.
motion by Olson, second by Levino. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, carried. All right, presentation of the 2024 City of Mayville Annual Audit presented by John Rader. They're not here right now, but I'll move on to item 7. And we'll go back to 6. That agreeable to everybody?
Yes.
Yep. All right. Oh, John, you're up.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. You wanna go up to the podium?
yeah, you bet. Yeah.
Oh, John, long time no see.
Yeah, something like, kind of walking in, right?
On in.
Well, hello. Nice to see everybody. Thanks for having us. Is this on? Okay.
Yeah, it goes through the speaker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for having us. As you know, I'm John Rader, and this is Aaron Gelman. And Aaron has been with me the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And we're gonna share some of the information we have to go through. And spend most of the time on the financial highlights. And I'll turn it over to Aaron to talk about that. In just about 2 minutes here. But we're also gonna walk through, he's gonna turn it back to me. I'm gonna talk about this document here, the reporting and insights. Internal control report, whatever you want to call it. And I'll kind of point out the status of several things in that report as well. So as we go through this, let us know if you have questions. This is mostly a good report this year. I have some really positive things to say. The audit went very well this year overall. We didn't have any material audit adjustments, which is probably the first time, and I've been coming here for over 20 years that I can recall this. So the changes in the systems, personnel that you put in place really cleaned a lot of things up. When we were meeting in the back, I was saying a few years ago, we had 50 some entries just on the city side. So to go down to no material entries is very good. We also have several control deficiencies in that second report I was talking about that have been resolved. Or in others that are on their way, moving in that same direction. There's also an improving financial condition of the city. There's still some funds that have a deficit that we'll mention, but overall, the general fund has recovered nicely, and some of the other funds are moving in that same positive direction. This is also the earliest we've met that I can remember for many years. Last year was good. We were here July 8th, but we're 2 months earlier this year. Which again says to the condition of the records, the cooperation, and just being able to get through the audit like you're supposed to. So again, all very positive. So with that, I'll turn over to Aaron and talk about the numbers.
Thank you. If you have the financial highlights in front of you, if you want to turn to the first page there. This is looking at the fund balance of the general fund, and you can see with this graph down below, there's really 3 different categories that the city has, that being unassigned, assigned, and non-spendable. At the very bottom of the page, it kind of defines what each of those categories mean and why, what they kind of are. I'll go through them very briefly here. Non-spendable, kind of as the name implies, they're items in non-spendable form due to legal requirements. At the city, this is prepaids, this is inventories, and then advances is the big part of that. And those are, amounts that the general fund is loaning to other funds where those funds cannot pay it back within 1 year. That's where it gets the advances sort of classification versus just a regular transfer. But that's what makes up that non-spendable part. Assigned, you'll see that is the It's a very small category. It's 94,000, did not change from last year. These are just some assigned amounts set aside for the FEMA reserve, fire department dues, and then the employee separation funds. Again, same amount as last year. And then the really main focus and the biggest part here is that unassigned portion, and that's really anything that's left over. So not something that's not assigned, not spendable, any of those other categories. You can see that that went up quite a bit from last year. Last year was 647,000. This year is closer to 1.2 million. You can kind of see where that's coming from the summarized income statement below. That shows the actual, the budget for both revenues and expenses, and then that net change. You can see that revenues came in over budget around 330,000. Main driver for that is investment income. The actual balance, 280,000, budgeted 75,000. We've seen that pretty consistently through other municipalities. You know, the improving market conditions has kind of been the biggest factor with that. Then expenditures, pretty comparable, but they did come in $200,000 under budget. So that's kind of what came into play for that overall net change and that net income this year of around 500,000 for the city.
I'll just add one thing to that, like what Aaron touched on, that non-spendable category, that, like he said, went from 1.1 down to $987,000. That's the direction you want to go, because the more you have in there, it ties up fund balance in the general fund that you can't do other things with. So as that went down, plus the positive change in your fund balance, the net income, that all flows up in that unassigned. So it's kind of like, sounds like you're shifting shells around or money, but the result is you're moving up into that category that's flexible for budgeting purposes and everything else that you need it for.
We can go to the next page. It's still looking at fund balance. This is looking at the city's policy of making sure that unassigned fund balance, so that leftover fund balance account, is in line with the subsequent year's budgeted expenditures. So for this year, that would be 2025. You can see in the graph below, the red line is what the city is actually at. The blue dots are other municipalities that we audit that are a similar size of population as Mayville. So just there as a comparison sake. And then the black line is that policy 25%. And you can see last year was about 13.6%. And then this year it jumped up to 24.4%, really honestly perfectly in line with the policy being at 25%. So that definitely looks good, improvement there, which is always good. If you want to go to the next page, these next two pages will kind of look at debt. This first graph is just looking at the amount of debt the city has compared to its debt limit. You can see that black line is the debt limits, that maximum the city could issue. The red line is where the Mayville is at. Pretty consistent from last year. We're up about 6.3%. So the percent of the debt limit used is 22%. That's really just in line with the amount of debt issued this year. You can kind of see each year that the debt limit is going up. So still very comparable to last year. And then you can kind of see at the bottom, there's this graph that shows just the types of debt that the city has, being the general obligation, which is used in this graph up above, the revenue debt, and then the liability of compensated absences is summarized there.
Yeah, if the utility debt was not included in that, your debt would look at this. The percentage of your debt limit that you would be using would be closer to like 15 or so, maybe even less.
Then if you want to go to the last page, this is one more debt metric. This is really just assessing the city's flexibility for the amount of debt expenses versus the non-capital expenditures, just to see, you know, how much debt is committed versus other expenditures. Again, you can see the red line is the city of Mayville. Those black dots, again, the median sort of reference for municipalities of similar size. You can see, again, with that graph, last year was about 7.5%. This year at 9.2%, we typically recommend 20% lower. So you can see even with that recommendation, and then in comparison to some of those other municipalities of similar size, really in a good spot, not overextending with debt, anything like that. Really in a reasonable spot with that. And again, there's a bit of a graph down there just to show where these amounts are coming from. You can see the principal amounts, very similar to last year. Interest went up a little bit. Again, that makes sense with the new debt. And then those non-capital expenditures of about 5.6 million is super similar to last year. That is kind of everything with financial highlights. I don't got any of the audit results.
Yeah,
kind of goes through a little bit.
Unless anybody has questions on the numbers.
Anybody have any questions?
Okay. Well, like I said, I'm gonna mention a few things out of this reporting and insights document. This has a kind kind of a hodgepodge of things going through it. It talks about what our responsibilities are as your auditors. And it's really where GAAP auditors trying to issue that opinion on your financial statements. Talks about significant audit risk areas that we need to consider in our profession and for the city of Mayville. There's a bunch of required communications in there that go on for about 3 or 4 pages. Pretty dry stuff. That's the way you want it to be. You know, to be talking about disagreements with management or anything. There's nothing like that during the audit. But what usually draws the most attention is the internal control matters. So we'll start on page 7. And I am going to walk you through these on a high level. And so these go on for several pages. The internal control issues up front are the fact that there are segregation of duties, challenges within the city because of the size of the staffing. So we're required to point that out. I will add that the city is making a lot of progress towards that, and we've got some more detailed bullet point items down below that, missing key controls. So for instance, we always test journal entries, because journal entries are when you take what's in the records and you're basically changing it, okay? And there's a fraud risk with those. There's a reporting risk. And so we always sample them everywhere we go. The standards require us to do it. And we didn't find any problems with the journal entries, but we're not consistently seeing that they're being reviewed, independently reviewed by somebody else. A lot of those we tested this year were, okay, where in previous years, none of them were. So it's kind of a free for all, but this year there's a lot of improvement there, but they weren't all being reviewed yet. So again, progress towards what we saw there. This second point is something that really has caused a lot of problems for the last few years, with the exception of 2024, where the bank reconciliations weren't being kept up on. They would be done monthly this year and independently reviewed. So that has been resolved, and that is what really led to a lot fewer entries going on this year. So that was a big point of progress. The year-end reconciliations, through working with the city's consultants and creating the work papers, we were able to resolve that comment as well. We definitely like to see that those are being done independently, that we're not doing them, and that they're being reviewed as well before they're given to us. And so that process was in place, and I'd like to see that continue here at Mayville going forward. A couple items in the TAG Center, you know, adjusting journal entries again, go through their RecTrack system. Those aren't always being independently reviewed and approved. And the segregation between cash collection and access to the TAG Center system. These two have been pointed here for a long time. So those do continue. And then we had a point regarding the library building activity. And this was out here, I think, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and was an issue last year. We resolved it this year. Our concern there was not that the fact that they had separate accounts and they managed it. That's all okay by statute. We were concerned about that activity flowing through those without coming through the centralized processes here. Okay. Well, that's done. So this comment's been resolved. You know, with all the challenges of the city of the previous years, I think there was perhaps some concerns about that getting posted here. So it just didn't happen until the actual audit. And there was a lot of catch up. But this year there was not an issue with that at all. The financial statement close process at the bottom of page 8. This is one that's in, as I said in the background, probably 95% of our reports, if not more. It's the fact that we prepare your financial statements. Okay. And even if you did have the resources to prepare them, if we found material entries, we would still have this comment. So very few governments that we audit in the state of Wisconsin can actually do this. It's just a hard thing to achieve. And that's why we do it for almost all of our clients. But the auditing standards say if you do it, you got to report it, just like you're an SEC company, which isn't really fair, but it is required. Page 9. So these are just kind of other comments and recommendations. This first one is the only new comment in here, is regarding financial policies. Again, it's not an internal control issue. It's really a best practice. We're just saying, here's a bunch of examples of financial policies the city should consider. You do already have some of these. For instance, fund balance, that very first one. But to come up with a couple additional ones each year would be a good practice to kind of move forward for standardization and consistency from year to year. Prior year points, just some updates on these, the city's financial position. This is the fact that, kind of going back to what Aaron was talking about, some of those other funds couple of your TIF funds, the TAG Center, and a couple others that are in the footnotes. It says page 42, that was last year's, it's page 41 of your financial statements, we'll list all those out. Are still leaning on the general. Okay, so they still have negative cash, they're in deficit position, and they gotta get it from somewhere, so they lean on the general fund. However, it did improve, okay, it went, from about 1.1 million down to 980,000, so those funds are going in the right direction. The CDA, what we've been saying for the last couple of years is we're not aware of any statutory authority that allows the CDA to levy. It's gotta be funded somehow though, so it'll probably come from the general fund levy and then transferring that money over. So that's one thing to consider during budget time. Top of page 10, council minutes. This was a problem last year where they weren't available online or on the city's website. They were this year, so that's been resolved. Timely payment of invoices and billings. We sampled for these 2 years ago, found some that were not paid for several months. Again, that wasn't an issue, that's been resolved. Benefit payments, there wasn't a procedure in place when somebody left or terminated with the city for the payments for health insurance and EDF for their retirement weren't being turned off. So it's continuing, they had to try to recapture those. That was a kind of a challenge. That's been put in place, so that's been resolved. So a lot of positive improvements here. Charge accounts, this goes in line with what I was just talking about. It's not a problem that there are charge accounts for the city at the gas station, at the hardware store. That's very common. But it's better to put a policy in place regarding the controls around those to make sure that there isn't, fraud or anything like that that could occur. So that's still an issue, kind of again in conjunction with the other financial policies. These next two on the top of page 11 are very related. The restricted cash equipment account and the membership subsidy coming from the foundation. The way that had been structured in previous years is the money would be paid up front, and then it was supposed to be adjusted as those funds were kind of earned, so to speak, in there. Equipment was purchased, membership subsidies were applied, and nothing got done. We would have to come in for the audit every year and try to figure out what's going on, and we didn't want to be the ones, and we shouldn't be the ones tracking that. That whole process has changed, where now that's more of on a reimbursement basis, and that's the way to go. So those two have been resolved as well. And then in the bottom of page 11, it takes financial position. You can see how long this comment's been in here. It goes back, and it's ebbed and flowed, but it did go up again this last year, up to $538,000. So this is negative cash in the TAG Center, or the TAG Fund. And so that's one thing to keep an eye on. As far as the operations, and I know that there's some things going on to make some improvements there as well. And then the last one is top of page 12. And again, this is just an informational point about decentralized cash collections. Really best practice. And this is also in almost all of our reports. We completely recognize governments have to serve the public. So you have to serve or be able to collect fines at the library or citations or these decentralized collection points, but there's risks associated with that. So we say, we acknowledge that, but then we say, here's some things you can do to try to help mitigate or reduce that risk. So we bullet point those out. And some of which you probably are doing. That was a lot. Any questions on that? I think overall, definite improvement. So that's great. A lot of those comments that we said were resolved will just be gone next year, unless they're a problem again, but they should come out, and we'll continue to monitor those other ones going forward.
All right, any comments? Questions?
I have a question, but it's not really related to the last two pages. I understand we didn't qualify this year again for spending restraints because of a miscommunication with change in regulations. Whose responsibility is it to keep us up to date on the regulations? I wasn't here at the time, but.
Yeah, that's not something we get involved with. It's supposed to be done internally. Through management, as far as how you set the budget and qualify for that.
So there's no way our auditor can help us make sure we are
If you have questions on it, we can try to dig in. I know your municipal, your financial advisors, Zellers, they're very good at that kind of thing too. Yeah.
All right,
I would suggest going to them during budget time to make sure you do qualify, because as I understand it, it's, you can almost always qualify.
yes, we were very surprised.
My father used to be head of the revenue section for that. He said, I don't know how any place could not qualify for this.
All right, anybody else? Well, John, thanks for your time and,
Okay.
some of the details that you shared, some of the details you shared, we'll put on the city website so the public can, review.
I think it's a
All
great.
right.
Yep, it's a very good audit this year. We're gonna keep that going forward.
Yeah.
So thanks for having us.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Mayor's report. All right, so I want to wish everybody a happy belated Mother's Day. I hope everybody had a wonderful day. The weather was great out and hope you had time to celebrate with your family and friends. So, happy Mother's Day. It's poppy season at the American Legion. If you notice, I wore a poppy today that supported the American Legion. So if you see them around town, they're looking for donations for the American Legion Auxiliary. So please support the American Legion. This month, I wanted to inform the public that Maple will be updating their 30-year comprehensive plan in compliance with Wisconsin state law. This month, we will be conducting a survey for the community on what is important and what you would like to see done in Mayville over the next 20 to 30 years. This is your chance to help steer Mayville's future by taking this 15-minute survey. The survey will be on the city website in the next few weeks. More information to come. Some may have noticed the city council meetings have not been streamed live on YouTube in the past few months since we have updated our internet service. Our IT department has been working on the issue, but we can't seem to figure out the cause root of what the problem actually is. The meetings are recorded. And we posted in our website in a few days after the meeting. However, until we figure out the issue, I will be streaming the city council meeting live on my Facebook page, Rob Bell Dodge, second Monday of the month at 7 p.m. This past month was the city council elections and new appointments. Ward 3 will be represented by newly elected alderwoman Molly Hinkle, who will be serving the role of chairman of the personnel committee as we enter a new session. I am positive all our elected officials will serve our community well. So thank you all very much. This summer, the Wisconsin Department of Transportation has scheduled Highway 28 to be reconstructed from Highway B to Theresa. This will include new asphalt and construction improvements. Work will start in the next week, so please avoid this route if possible. Last month, I reported that the 2024 and 2025 capital improvement plan funding bonding was rejected because of higher interest rates and lack of bids. After working with our financial experts, Ehlers, we have concluded that borrowing funds from a private financial institution at a lower rate would be the best option. Myself, city administrator, and treasurer have all been discussed, and we feel even though we are about $100,000 over anticipated fund rate, we are gaining on a 5-year refinance option compared to 9 years. And with the interest rate in flux from the federal government, this is our best option moving forward at this time. As always, I hope to see you around town and say hello. That concludes my mayor's report. Administrative report.
Good evening. Administrative updates or functions that have been underway for the city. The city received IRS penalty for the 2021 for $22,953. This is in addition to the 2022 penalty that we received in January of $20,240. I conducted an exit interview with the library director, completed the annual ARPA reporting by the May 1st deadline, posted the RFP for auditing services, presented also at the Rotary meeting this month. On the administrator duties on April 24th. Meetings I attended was the Landfill Standing Committee, Plan Commission and CDA meeting, Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee meeting on May 5th, the Utility Commission I also attended the wastewater treatment plant pre-construction monthly meeting for their project. I will be attending them every month. The library board meeting, I also, attended on May 8th, and they are continuing their library director search. Webinars and training I attended as professional development webinar through the WCMA. I also attended the Madison Region Economic Partnership, Future Development Best Practices in Madison, and the League of Wisconsin Municipalities Insurance Conference on April 28th and 29th. Projects that are in progress are the pre-construction meeting or the pre-construction meeting for the road projects for the city of Mayville for our roads that are rated 0 to 4. And the milling and paving is estimated to start on June 16th. The department heads and I are continuing to meet with FirstNet. This is the AT&T cell phone service dedicated to first responders, and all of the city of Mayville would be able to utilize the cell phone policy. So we are working with that. Also working with Attorney Madden, who's still reviewing the delinquent revolving loan funds and the special assessment ordinance. As Eileen Lifke started on May 5th with Nicole in the accounting department, and upcoming tasks on filing the video service report with the Department of Revenue, and started compiling the TID annual reports for joint review board that will be coming up. And that's all I have for tonight.
All right, thank you. City clerk report for the month.
So liquor licensing update, the clerk's office is currently processing the liquor license renewals for the upcoming licensing year. All expected establishments have submitted their applications for renewal, and they are with the police department for their next steps. Early outreach and communication with the license holders have contributed to a smoother and more efficient renewal season this year. In preparation for license issuance, the clerk's office has also taken on the additional steps of verifying that applicants are all in good standing with the state of Wisconsin. So this includes that confirming their seller's permits are valid and ensuring they are compliant with the state if they have an LLC or a corporation, that it is still currently in good standing. Invoices were emailed today to all applicants detailing balances due for licensing fees, background checks, and required publications. These invoices also included any outstanding debts owed to the city. In accordance with Municipal Code 247-10-1, liquor licenses may be withheld until any debts to the city are resolved. This policy has been clearly communicated in both the original renewal letter, a follow-up letter, and this invoice. My hopes is that there will be no surprises for businesses when they come to pick up their licenses. At this time, we do have approximately 3 businesses that have delinquent utility bills and or property taxes that must be brought current before their licenses can be released. We may also receive notice from alcohol distributors in the coming weeks regarding any delinquencies from licensed establishments, which could additionally impact their license issuance. Assessment Board of Review. Open book will be conducted by Associated Appraisal on May 15th from 10 a.m. to noon. This will be conducted by phone. Instructions for scheduling appointments was included in the notice of change of assessment letters that were mailed out by Associated Appraisals on May 2nd. This year, only 107 parcels were affected, representing approximately 4.84% of the total parcels within the city. Board of Review is scheduled for June 5th from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. I've already completed the required training and filed the appropriate documentation with the state of Wisconsin insurance compliance with that statutory requirement. Website update. This month, I did dedicate some time to reviewing and updating the city's website. Several adjustments were made with the goal of improving overall usability and enhancing the experience for residents and visitors seeking information online. These improvements are part of an ongoing effort to make sure our information is available to the public. It is certainly still a work in progress, but we've made some adjustments. And training, Deputy Clerk Hunt and I recently attended the Wisconsin Municipal Clerks Association's training session. The session covered important updates on board review procedures and recent changes to liquor and tobacco licensing laws. The training was informative and will help guide our continued compliance with state requirements and best practices.
Thank you. All right, treasurer, March 2025 monthly register and approval of the bills. You guys should have the bills in your packet. If you had a chance to review them. Entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Smith, second by Newman. Any discussions? Questions? All right, please take the roll.
Alderperson Smith,
Aye.
Alderperson Newman,
Aye.
Alderperson Olson,
Aye.
Alderperson Leibnau,
Aye.
Alderperson Henkel. Aye, motion carries.
All right, Comptroller Treasurer's monthly report, she had a engagement and she'll be reporting next month. All right. Item 11, report of committees, commission of the board, utility commission. Next date and time is June 3rd at 6 p.m. Library board, next meeting date is June 12th at 6 p.m. Public Works Committee, next meeting date is May 27th at 6 p.m. Personnel Committee, next meeting date is May 27th at 6 p.m. Public Safety, next meeting date is May 27th at 6 p.m. Finance Committee, next meeting date is May 27th at 6 p.m. Park and Recreation Committee, next meeting date is June 4th at 3:30 p.m. Planning Commission, next meeting date is May 28th at 4 p.m. Community Development Authority, next meeting date is May 28th at 5 p.m. Old business, discuss the possible action, extending the 24/7 access to the TAG Center to 15 to 18-year-olds with a legal guardian. You want to go up to the podium there, John?
Yep. All right, good evening, everyone.
Hi, John.
All right, I'm just gonna let's sum up here quick. So after the last meeting, we discussed the 15 to 18-year-old using a TAG center. We reached out to the attorney for his thoughts on the matter. We sent over the waiver and release forms that we currently use at the TAG center and the new one that was gonna be just for the minors. He stated that there's no such thing as an ironclad contract or release form. And now when we are requiring minors to sign a document and be in a facility where it is unstaffed, even with parents, there will be a high liability that we are gonna be accountable for. If we do not move forward with, if we do decide to move forward with it, we will need to come up with a very long, detailed release of liability for minors, as our attorney stated, to try and cover our rear ends. We need to figure out if this is worth the time and the effort that we are putting into it moving forward. So,
I'll open up for discussion.
Can I make a comment?
Good.
With all the work that we've done at the TAG Center, and I've recently become a member up there and I took advantage of the 24/7. And I just feel that this is opening the TAG Center up to certain situations of vandalism or things that could be wrecked, and we're not gonna notice it till the next day. I would really prefer that we forego this idea of allowing minors in there at the 24/7 access and just because of the unknowns. And focus, there really isn't any revenue that could be increased besides of the membership. I really think it's opening the TAG Center at this time. I think we would like to just take advantage of trying to get TAG Center back on its feet without opening this up at this time.
Anybody else?
I would prefer to table this. I would make a phone call and stuff.
Got a motion to table?
That's my motion.
Motion to table the next month? Right, Jim?
Correct.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on the table? All right, all those in favor of tabling the next month, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Hey.
Motion carries. Thank you, John.
all right, thank you.
New business. Approval of the minutes of April 14th, 2025 City Common Council meeting.
The motion?
Motion by Newman,
I'll second.
second by Hinkle. Any corrections, additions to the minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the minutes of April 15th, 2025 organizational meeting of the Common Council. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Smith,
I'll second.
second by Newman. Any additions, corrections to the organizational meeting? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approve the minutes of April 28th, 2025 Personnel and Finance Committee of the whole. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Hinkle,
Second.
second by Newman. Any discussion, corrections, additions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Discuss the possible action, regular scheduled meeting dates and times for the standing committees. Any discussion on this? Andy, you got something to add?
Just that it was put on all agendas now that the appointments have happened, just to make sure times work for everyone there. Current standing committees are scheduled for the fourth Tuesday of the month, starting at 6 p.m.
In addition, we changed, utility
Mhm.
to, 5:30 on Thursday to coincide with the meeting, so,
You said Thursday.
oh, Monday, I'm sorry.
Starting in July, correct?
Yeah, starting in July, so it's 5:30 we're gonna be,
Mhm.
because then everyone's here. So, that's gonna be before standing meetings, standing committee meetings. If we happen to end early, then those committee meetings will start at 6 o'clock.
All right, anybody else got any discussion? All right, seeing no action, move on to item 13E. Discuss with possible action 38-28, common council regular meetings for the City of Mayville Municipal Code. Any discussion on this?
So I will say with this one, common council is actually in our ordinance, what the date and time of meeting. So if you guys would like to adjust the time or the date, we do need to make an ordinance to adjust that code.
Which costs money.
This is one we could easily draft in-house.
Yeah, but you still gotta record it every year.
Yep, still do.
Yes.
I will go over the majority of what works for the rest. Doesn't make a difference to me.
I think since I've been on council, since way back when, we always had at 7 because there's not as much discussion and input at council. Most of the stuff is always done at the committee level. Most of us are at the committee level when we're present. So I think that's the reason why we always had at 7. If you guys want to change the time, that's fine.
I don't care.
Is there any action to be taken?
It would be nice if Tony were here, on this. Should we table this for now? Can we?
If it helps, when he called me to say he was gonna be late, he said he would like 6 o'clock, but he's fine with whatever he wants.
Okay.
That's what I thought too, move it to 6 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock. I know it's
prefer-
been forever, 7 o'clock, and
But
like you said, the committee, we do a lot of work in the committees. I mean, common council should be pretty much a stamp of approval, carry on. And
Is that a motion?
run pretty smooth,
So
so
if he wanted.
I'll make a motion, 6 o'clock.
All right, motion by Newman, second by Olson. Any more discussion? If approved, then this will have to be introduced next month. All right. Take the roll.
Alderperson Newman,
Aye.
Alderperson Olson.
Aye.
Alderperson Lehna.
Aye.
Alderperson Henkel. Aye. Alderperson Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, introduction ordinance 1148-2025, an ordinance to create chapter 194, weight and measures of the municipal code of the City of Mayville. Someone want to introduce?
I'll introduce.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Wade the Baker. There you go. Discuss with possible action, resolution 5988-2025, adoption of public participation plan for the City of Mayville comprehensive plan update. Now I'll let the administrator discuss this a little bit.
This will be in.
Manny?
Sure. So we are in the middle or in the beginning stages of updating the 30-year comprehensive plan. Part of the requirements when we do this is an adoption of public participation plan. So that's what we have in front of you. You know, we were speaking about the survey earlier. Obviously, we want citizen input on this. This has gone through Plan Commission first with recommendation to be approved by council.
All right. Is there a motion?
Make that motion.
Motion by Newman. Second by Levino. Any more discussion? All in favor of adopting the plan, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Discuss with possible action, resolution 5989-2025, resolution declaring official internet official intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeding of borrowing Grove Street Project Clean Water Fund loan. Is, something that was done by the utility, I'm thinking.
Yep, this came through utilities.
Yeah,
This is basically to be in compliance with our Clean Water Fund loan. On the resolution.
Yep, my understanding is this is to,
This-
because we have to take the money
This
ahead of
is-
time.
This is a resolution that has to be adopted when you're paying for a project before you have the money in hand.
Okay.
So this
Yeah.
is ensuring that you will reimburse the
yeah.
general
So
fund.
pass it. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Smith, second by Newman. Any discussion? Take the roll.
Alderperson Smith,
Aye.
Alderperson Newman,
Aye.
Alderperson Olson,
Aye.
Alderperson Leitnow,
Aye.
Alderperson Henkel, Alderperson DeBaker.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, discuss with possible action, resolution 5990 2025. Resolution declaring official intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of borrowing Grove Street Project Safe Water Drinking Loan Fund. Same
I'll make the motion.
motion by Smith.
Second.
Second by Newman. Any more discussion? All right, take the roll, I guess.
Alderperson Smith,
Aye.
Alderperson Newman,
Aye.
Alderperson Olson,
Aye.
Alderperson Leitnow,
Aye.
Alderperson Henkel, Alderperson DeBaker.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, discuss with possible action, resolution 5991 2025, a resolution declaring the official intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of borrowing Muzzy and Allen Street Project Clean Water Fund loan.
Same type of resolution, only different street project.
Yeah, make that motion.
Motion by Newman,
Second.
second by DeBaker. Any more discussion?
Leave it on.
It is this conjunction with Grove Street, all this Muzzy and Grove, right?
These are in conjunction to the 2026 road project.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, take the roll.
Alderperson Newman,
Yes.
Alderperson DeBaker.
Aye.
Alderperson Smith,
Aye.
Alderperson Henkel, Alderperson Leitnow,
Aye.
Alderperson Olson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, discuss with possible action, resolution 5992 2025, resolution declaring official intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of borrowing Muzzy and Allen Street Project for safe drinking water loan. Same thing.
Make a motion.
Motion by Newman, second by Hinkle. Any more discussion? All right, please take the roll.
Alderperson Newman,
Aye.
Alderperson Henkel, Alderperson Smith,
Aye.
Alderperson DeBaker.
Aye.
Alderperson Olson,
Aye.
Alderperson Leitnow.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, item 13, L, discuss a possible action, the project proposal for law. Let's start over. Discuss the possible action, the project proposal for land brokerage services located in Riverdale Industrial Park. And Adam, you want to go up to the podium? State your name and company you're representing.
I'm Adam Wilkett. I own American Commercial Real Estate. Concentrate 100% on commercial. Stephanie gave me a call and said you guys would like to work with broker, and if you have any questions on the proposal I gave, commission, asking price, we have to answer those.
There you want to try it.
Just want to go over your proposal, how it works, and
Sure, so I mean, there's comparables in there for pricing. It basically ended up at $45,000 an acre. And with the land being owned by the city and in a TIF district, you could potentially give it away depending on what kind of increments of a project would come forward. So in that case, we base commission off of asking price, flat fee of 4,500 an acre. And then, as projects come, we weigh what increments would come forward, and basically a math equation from there. So,
You said 4,500 acre.
4,500 is the commission, 45,000 would be the asking price. So if we came with a big user that would provide enough increments that it would make sense to say, here's the land for $1, it would be just a flat fee.
Okay. You guys have a chance to review? Any questions?
what are some recent sales that you just had, Adam?
Last week I actually closed on the Energy Service Center, which closed out one of the industrial parks in West Bend and allowed that to close as well. So that's 20 acres for their new $34 million development.
You're pretty familiar with working with kids then?
Yeah, so I was on city council in West Bend, so I have a unique real estate city background that definitely helps in this case, being owned by the city.
So your commercial commissions, 4,500 based on a, let's say a asking price of 45,000, so it's basically 10% unless,
Correct.
which is pretty common for commercial real estate.
For land deals, especially because they take so long, there's a process that, you know, you're not just putting a building on a market and going through financing and closing, it's going through plan commission approvals, everything else.
Now that will be charged all through the TIF, so. We don't have any out of pocket. All right, what's your pleasure? Was there a motion? I did meet with Adam along with Stephanie, I think that you do a good job, right? So, met with some others.
I'll make a motion to accept his,
All right, motion by Smith, proposal. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Olson, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
See what you can do, Adam. Work your magic.
Yep.
All right. That's with possible action, Department of Public Works Director's job description. All right. All right, it should be in your packet, description.
So we've never had a job description before. What we had was one that was still, I forget his name now, Mike. Hertz, yes. So I updated it and I put the parks portion into it and the DPW, or the parks was in there, but I made sure it was appropriate to the situation and added in everything. So it's up to date and then we're ready to go forward after approving the job description with the hiring at the personnel.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the job description?
So moved.
All right, motion by DeBaker,
Second.
second by Newman. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discuss with possible action, connection of City of Mayville City Sewer Services located at, I think we're at N 8667 North.
And this is under attorney
supposed to be
review.
German Road, but
Right. I think we should,
Road.
it's road.
we should,
German Street is in Mayville, German Road is in the village.
yeah, I would entertain a motion to table this to next month.
Motion on the table.
Motion by Newman, second by Olson. Any discussion?
What is that?
There was a property that's north of town. It's actually in the village of Kikoski, and they asked the water commission if they could potentially hook up. I
The sewer.
don't think we ever made an official motion, did we?
You mean in the utility?
Yeah,
No, we forwarded to the council, but. And we wanted more information from the applicant about what his,
right. The attorney's reviewing this as we speak, so we'll have more information next month.
Has this ever been asked before?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it hasn't had,
Not when they were a village.
not when they were a village.
yeah, something is good.
Yeah, I've just never heard this before, so I wanted a little bit of background and.
Right, when they were town, we did grant a person, access. When they were town, now that they're a village, they're under a little bit different rules.
There are some conflicting ordinances in our ordinance book right now that says you have to annex to the city and so forth and so on. And you have to be on a existing sewer line. So those would have to be changed unless we, I think this is gonna be pretty much a no.
We'll let the attorney come back with his.
All right, I got questions, but I'll wait to see what the attorney says.
Right, all right, all those in favor of tabling the next month, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Discuss with possible action, separation payment for Library Director Leslie Schultz. This is been reviewed by the administrator and the treasurer. I'll take
A motion,
I'll second.
Motion by Newman, second by Hinkle. Any more discussion? Take the roll.
Alderperson Newman.
aye.
Alderperson Henkel. Aye. Alderperson Smith.
Aye.
Alderperson DeBaker.
Aye.
Alderperson Olson.
Aye.
Alderperson Lehnow.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, item 13P, discuss the possible action uploading meeting video to YouTube in lieu of live streaming in regards to the video recording the city meetings, including council meetings, personnel committee, finance committee, safety committee meetings, and public works meetings.
Make a motion, I'll second that.
A motion made by Newman, second by the Baker. Any discussion? I don't think, this is a good idea. I think we should, try to at least live stream some of these meetings. We we went from streaming all the meetings, not gonna stream any of them.
So how would we pick and choose?
Well, we already picked and choose, we already made a decision before. We're gonna stream council
Council
meetings and committee meetings.
Well,
But we haven't been able to arrange the technology for that, right?
We're working on trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I agree with the mayor. This is sort of, we were gonna, if we couldn't solve that problem, we were gonna try something else.
well, aren't we in the process of getting things updated?
Yes.
So maybe this wouldn't be the time to make a complete decision on this. In a perfect world, I would like to see them all streamed. Every once in a while, I like to watch the wastewater or the, utility meetings. But now it's not being offered. So,
Well, the reason we didn't wanna do all the meetings because we don't have the capability of storage for all these meetings,
right,
right? I mean, years ago, we used to have the recorders and stuff in the back, we put it on a CD. And the clerk would actually label the meeting dates and all that, she'd have it all on file. If we ever had an issue where we need to review the meetings, they were there. Now we're just relying on a public network for recordings.
okay,
And we're in the process. I mean, we have fiber installed here at City Hall, but it's not. We don't have the right equipment yet installed to make that switch over to the fiber. So once we have that, we'll definitely have enough bandwidth here to live stream it. Right
Right.
now, it's hard to connect on.
We're thinking this is a bandwidth problem, but we're not 100% positive.
Right.
But we are gonna try and have the recorded copies of all the meetings for minute purposes or,
Well, we're posting the meetings now, like a day or two later, like I said, in our
Okay.
report. And then, so people can go on like Wednesday, it should be in there and
see
can review the
all the
meeting.
meetings or just the,
the city council and common council,
okay,
or the committees and council.
but not public works or any of those.
Right.
Yeah, I think we should just table this for a month and see, probably,
I-
we should probably have it up, the fiber switch over.
that's what I'm thinking, why don't we just table this until next month?
So we're,
See where-
motion on the table?
Well, there's a motion on the table.
Oh,
Motion to table is always in order.
Right, and it can't be, it
Tim is
can't be
making-
discussed.
Tim is making a motion to table. Is that what I'm
I
saying? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by,
Well, there was some concern about hacking into the YouTube. Right?
It,
Well,
that's,
security,
yeah, that's why I
That's
brought
why-
it forward. Do I think it's a realistic thing that's going to happen? No, but it has happened to other communities,
Sure.
which is why I brought it here for all of you to discuss.
all right. Anybody else on the table? Okay, all those in favor of tabling this to next month, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
nay,
Take the roll.
Alderperson Olson,
aye,
Alderperson Smith,
Aye.
Alderperson DeBaker.
Aye.
Alderperson Henkel. Aye. Alderperson Lehnow.
Nay.
Alderperson Newman.
nay.
All right, we're gonna table this to next month. All right, discuss the possible action rescinding section 22-12A, Library Board of Ordinance 1146 2025.
So.
Okay, can I ask you why we tabled that? We had a tie.
Because I just made a
He's the
decision.
tiebreaker.
Just wanted
It
to-
breaks the time.
All right,
Cause I didn't hear you vote.
I voted aye.
Okay.
Discuss with possible action rescinding, section 2212A library board on ordinance 1146-2025.
So this was the ordinance where we were trying to sync up as many expiration dates to fall in line with organizational meeting. After that happened, Sue Smith did reach out to me with some literature from UW Local Government Extension that references back to a state statute on their board terms. And in that information from UW Local Government Extension, they do indicate that July beginning for those appointments. I did reach out to the League of Wisconsin Municipal Attorneys. They did say that just by taking action here, we could rescind that section of the ordinance. That would be acceptable instead of completely bringing back a whole new ordinance without that portion.
Okay. So this brings us in compliance with what the state mandates.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's not directly in state statute, but a combination of the statute referenced and the information from UW Local Government Extension.
Make a motion.
All right, motion by Newman,
A second.
second by Olson, to rescind section 22-12A library board of the ordinance 1146-2025. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Discuss with possible action the 2024 invoice for land and gas reclamation landfill for GFL Environmental Services. This is the bill. Should be in your packet. The motion to approve.
I will make that motion.
Motion by Smith, second by Levino. Any discussion? I'll take the roll on it.
Alderperson Smith.
Aye.
Alderperson Lehnow.
Aye.
Alderperson Newman.
Aye.
Alderperson Olson.
Aye.
Alderperson DeBaker.
Aye.
Alderperson Hinkle. Aye. Motion carries.
All right. 13S, discuss a possible recommendation replacing a grinder pump at Tyler Park. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Motion by Smith, second by Newman. And I take it the cost, the estimated cost was in there. The resolution, it's up to, right?
Yeah, the motion from committee level was up to 7,500.
And we're good with that yet? All right, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Review with possible action, enforce lease agreement between the city of Mayville and Dodge County for the use of city property at the Clark Street Water Tower site. All right, it should be in your packet that, the agreement was in your packet and, it was reviewed by Attorney Hammes. Sent to the county. We have yet to hear back from the county, is that right?
That is correct.
Um,
So the agreement automatically was enforced on May 1st. Apparently Hammes did not like the way he was being treated by the county and, has reached out to him numerous times and to a corporation counsel, NAS. And so we just have to go through and reach out to them. Hopefully they'll reach out to us with some comments on it, on how they would like this. But right now, this agreement does state, tenant may install and maintain a generator at the area of the ground lease, but the generator shall be connected to the available natural gas supply at curb line of the adjacent public right away.
all right, let's, get a motion on the table.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Smith,
Okay.
I'll second it.
second by DeBaker. Any more discussion?
So I thought you had this resolved. I mean, it's not resolved. They still want to use propane.
Well, we're telling them they're gonna use natural gas.
Yeah, they didn't disconnect. I thought you had it disconnected. No.
I did get it disconnected and then we connected it back and, I don't know.
That's when he
You
voted.
got anything else you want to add? Because my way, I'd actually had an LP tank on the front lawn of the administration building with a little note from myself. But that was.
Isn't the gate locked now?
I think the gate's always been,
And they got in there and reconnected it.
I'm not sure how they got there.
Were they trespassing? Sounds like a matter for the police department.
I think they have access because the tenant, the owner of the tenant, and we, in the past, they've given them access to the key to do any kind of equipment modifications they need on their tenant.
But they never asked us, they just showed up with a propane tank.
Yeah,
Correct.
Sounds like a federal matter.
anything else you want to add?
No.
Take the roll.
Alderperson Smith,
Aye.
Alderperson DeBaker.
Aye.
Alderperson Henkel. Aye. Alderperson Olson. Aye. Alderperson Newman.
Aye.
Alderperson Lehman.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 14, closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 919.851C. Consider employment promotion, compensation, performance evaluation, data of the public employee for which the governing body has jurisdiction or exercising responsibility. Nature of employment clarification for the city administrator. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
I'll second that.
Motion by Levino, second by Newman. Any more discussion? Please take the roll.
Alderperson Lehman.
Aye.
Alderperson Newman.
Aye.
Alderperson Olson. Aye. Alderperson DeBaker.
Aye.
Alderperson Smith.
Aye.
Alderperson Henkel. Aye. Motion carries.
But I think the police chief should be here for this.
Let me close
Everybody-
this stuff down real
Everybody
quick.
agree?
Please.
I have no